Lovie Smith is official. Smith was the Texans' associate head coach and defensive coordinator this past season. He joins Mike McDaniels, Dolphins, Robert Saleh, Jets, Mike Tomlin, Steelers, Ron Rivera, Commanders as the NFL's only minority head coaches. One of the finalists for that Texans job, Brian Flores, who, as you know, is suing the NFL and 3 teams over allegations of racial discrimination. His lawyers released this statement after the hiring. We would be remiss not to mention that Mr. Flores was one of 3 finalists for the Texans head coach position, and after a great interview and mutual interest, it is obvious that the only reason Mr. Flores was not selected was his decision to stand up against racial inequality across the NFL.
Hello, all you beautiful and amazing people. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to the show. If you're new to the channel, I'm your host, Hyde. This is Hide and Seek Media, where we talk about news, sports, politics, and so much more. Brian Flores has filed a class action lawsuit against the NFL, the Miami Dolphins, New York Giants, and all the other NFL teams because he feels like he was discriminated against by not being hired. So, the basis of his entire lawsuit is that he was supposed to interview for the Giants job, and apparently the Giants had an interview with somebody else, liked that coach, and decided, hey, we're going to hire this guy, even though we haven't interviewed Brian Flores yet, but let's just go ahead and go through the motions so that we can do our due diligence, right, and say that we've interviewed everybody out there. Or whatever the case may be for why they were going to interview Brian Flores. I don't know exactly, but they were still going to interview him even though they had already made up their mind, at least according to text messages he got from Bill Belichick, right? So Flores decides that's enough. I've seen enough. This is unacceptable. And I'm going to file a lawsuit because not only did the Giants do this to me, but in 2019, the Broncos did it to me too. And so I'm going to file a lawsuit, including the Broncos, for that interview that he felt was a sham. So if you want to hear all that, make sure to stay tuned all the way to the end. But before we get to all of that, if you like the work I do here at Hide and Seek Media and you enjoy my videos and you want to help support that work that I'm doing, there's many different ways you can do that, right? I list a bunch of different crypto wallets in the description down below that you can donate to. In the description, there's also a link to my merch store where you can head over there and pick out cool political t-shirts like these right here. Or you can head over to my locals community where you can become a member. Or you can head over to my locals community and become a member. With your premium subscription of just $2.99 a month, you'll get access to all of my videos on both YouTube and Rumble, articles that I write, and exclusive content only uploaded to locals. So head on over there and become a member. But the best way you can help support my channel is by hitting that share button. See, YouTube isn't going to share my videos. I don't get a lot of impressions and I don't get a lot of promotion on my channel from YouTube because I've been up for a little over a year. I've got just about 100 videos up. I'm getting close to 100 videos. And within my first month, I had a permanent warning put on my channel and a strike. And consequently, I've had 2 more strikes since then, one of which I've successfully appealed. So YouTube is monitoring all of my content and is making sure that it only promotes the videos that it wants people to hear me talk about. I talk about a lot of stuff that YouTube doesn't like promoting. Even though they'll allow it, they don't promote it, right? So people don't see it. And maybe that's just me and my psychobabble crazy whatever, but that's how I feel. So if you do like my channel and you want to help support my channel, hit the share button, right? Because that's what's really going to help support my channel, is sharing this video on all social media platforms and help getting the word out there. But let's go ahead and get into this article and talk about Brian Flores and his lawsuit against the NFL. Right, so we have this article from NBC News. Right, former Dolphins coach Brian Flores files racial discrimination lawsuit against NFL New York Giants. Flores says this in the suit that his Rooney Rule interview with the Giants was for a job that was never really open to him. They go on to report, former Miami Dolphins coach Brian Flores filed a federal lawsuit alleging racial discrimination against the NFL, the New York Giants, and other teams Tuesday, accusing them of living in a time of the past and paying lip service to minority hiring. Flores, who is black, was fired by the Dolphins after the recently concluded season, even though his teams went a respectable 24-25, including a 9-8 mark in 2021 and a 10-6 record in 2020. The termination was surprising as Miami hadn't posted consecutive above-average records since a run of 7 straight winning seasons under Jimmy Johnson and Dave Wannstedt from 1997 to 2003. So 20 plus years they haven't seen consecutive winning seasons. After Flores was fired in January, he quickly became a top coaching prospect throughout the league and lined up an interview with the Giants. But he claimed that he was forced to endure a phony interview with the Giants, and he said that he has incriminating text messages from the legendary New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick to prove it. 3 days before Flores interviewed for the job, which went to Brian Daboll, Belichick is alleged to have texted him to say Daboll, the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator, had already gotten the job, according to Flores' complaint in the Southern District of New York. So basically, he's saying he's got text messages from Bill Belichick saying, hey, sorry, Brian, but they gave it to the other Brian. You're SOL, right? And that was before his interview. And that New York wanted to continue the interview anyways. Maybe they weren't completely sold on Brian Daboll and still were doing their due diligence, right? Maybe Brian Flores, if he would have went into that interview without a chip on his shoulder or without the idea that New York was just putting on a show, right? If he'd actually taken that interview seriously, then maybe, just maybe, it would have been him that got hired and he could have beaten out Brian Daboll for the job. But having heard that, right, he said, right, it even says, sorry, I double checked and misread the text. I think they are naming Brian Daboll. I'm sorry about that. Okay. He says, I think. As far as I remember, Bill Belichick doesn't work for the New York Giants. He works for the New England Patriots. So, and it says, I think. So I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure the NFL's got some pretty expensive ones on retainer, and I can already pick holes in his logic and reasoning behind filing this lawsuit, or even assuming that the Giants didn't want to seriously interview him for the job just because he heard it from Bill Belichick. Hey, maybe, and I'm just speculating here, but maybe Belichick was looking to replace the defensive coordinator on his staff and maybe was thinking about bringing in Brian to, maybe, I don't know, nurse him along into the new coaching position at New England. And so he just told him, I think they're going to give this guy the job so he doesn't interview well and then he's still available and then the Patriots can then hire him. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I don't know that to be fact, but it could be a possibility, right? It could be a possibility. And then so why would Brian Flores automatically jump to it being racist, right? That it's all because of racial discrimination, right? It's because he's black, right? That's why he didn't get the job. It wasn't because maybe somebody else wanted his talents and was trying to steer him in that direction, right? Or it wasn't because the Giants wanted to make sure they had the right guy in Brian Daboll and they were interviewing Brian Flores to make sure they were right. Because if Brian Flores would have went in there and wowed them off their feet, there's a good possibility he got the Giants job instead, right? We don't know that because he didn't treat the interview with any type of seriousness because he was under the impression that somebody else already had the job and that he was just being interviewed to be the token, interview to satisfy the Rooney Rule. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't, but playing devil's advocate here, I'm not saying it was either. There's no proof that it was, and we don't know the intentions of the Giants or Bill Belichick for that matter in this situation. The New England Patriots organization has declined to make any kind of statement on the matter, while the New York Giants have come out and denied Flores' claims and said that their interview was in good faith and it was not a sham. Just as the Miami Dolphins owner has denied allegations that Flores has said, alleging that he was offered $100,000 in 2019 to throw the season so they could have a better draft choice in 2020. The Miami Dolphins organization has come flat out and denied those allegations. So I don't know. I'm not saying Brian Flores is lying. The Miami Dolphins are. So we'll leave it at that. What I'm saying is, what bothers me about this is that he jumped right to the racial discrimination part. Without looking at any other reasons why he would be told this situation or why he would have been passed up for other jobs. He interviewed for the Texans job, and yet they hired Lovie Smith, another black head coach, who was a head coach before Brian Flores. Let's talk about who the Miami Dolphins replaced him with. Mike McDaniel, a biracial coach from San Francisco. So the idea that race had anything to do with this is almost absurd. We don't know that to be fact. This is just his feelings. But there's one thing I kind of wanted to do, and we're going to jump into it now, is I wanted to show you guys this. This is Wikipedia's list of head coaches in the NFL, right? And so this is NFL league head coaches, right? You have champion head coaches, you have playoff coaches, and then, which is quite a long list, and then remaining coaches, okay? Now, mind you, I'm going to do this strictly. Oh, look at all this. Look, 300 and some odd. We're down to 400. Look at how many head coaches. Okay. So we are going to scroll down this list. We're going to start with champion coaches. Okay. We'll start with champion coaches. Now, like I said, I'm doing this strictly off memory. All right. Off of my memory of the NFL from when I started watching it. So I'm going to go down this list. Now it's in no specific order, so I'm just going to go down here, and as I see them, when it pops into my head, oh yeah, there's a coach of a person of color, right? If we want to say that. Let me see here. Tom Flores, head coach. I think he was. Yep. I think he took over. Wasn't he the coach who took over for Tom Flores? I think he was the coach that took over for John Madden. I might be wrong about that. So y'all fact check me. Leave a comment down below if I'm wrong. I think he took over for John Madden and won a Super Bowl. Right? Let's see here. Now these are just champion head coaches. You got Mike Tomlin, Tony Dungy. Okay. There's 3. Now, like I said, I'm just doing this off memory, so I might miss a few. So 3 off the top of my head that I know of are champion head coaches. Okay. Now we go to playoff head coaches. Ron Rivera. There's another one. There's 4. Lovie Smith. There's 5. Denny Green, 6. And I mean, I know there's a lot of head coaches here, but like I said, I'm just going off of memory. Herm Edwards, there's another one, right? Art Shell. So Ray Rhodes, right? Look, I've just scrolled down the list, and just off of my memory alone, I've been able to pick out a number of black head coaches who won championships and were in the playoffs. Okay. Now, if I guarantee you, if I scroll down that list, oh, there's Jim Caldwell. I miss Jim Caldwell. There's another one, right? But I guarantee you, if I scroll down that list, down to the bottom of just the remaining coaches, where the list is long and plentiful, I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of coaches' names in there who they got their shot and didn't pan out, right? So the idea that the NFL doesn't hire black head coaches is ridiculous. You know, my thing is, why are we focusing on the skin color? Right? That's the worst part of all of this. See, why are we constantly focused on the skin color and not the ability of the person? Now, I don't know how Brian Flores is as an interviewer. Okay. He's had a head coaching job, so apparently he knows how to go through the process and get hired as a head coach. And I personally thought he was a good head coach, and I liked what he was doing in Miami, and I thought he was going to turn that franchise around. Maybe there was a problem between him and Stephen Ross, and maybe he didn't like the way the owner ran the team. Maybe the owner didn't like him, and he needed a reason to get rid of him. I don't know the reason why Flores was fired, but I do know that there's a good possibility that he didn't get hired in some of these other jobs because maybe he had a chip on his shoulder and wasn't going into the job thinking he was going to get hired. Maybe he was going into the interview thinking they don't really want to hire me. They're just bringing me in to make me the token Rooney Rule interview, right? And they don't really care. They don't really want me as the head coach. I don't know. I don't know his thought process. All I'm going off of is what I read in the news, right? And it obviously his feelings were hurt. He filed a federal lawsuit claiming racial discrimination, even though he's been hired as a head coach in the NFL and is suing the NFL for racial discrimination for not being rehired. So you got fired from a job. Obviously, the owner thought you did a bad job. I personally didn't. A lot of fans don't think you didn't either. But the owner thought you did and had grounds to fire you, so he did. And then when you didn't get rehired, you file a lawsuit for racial discrimination? Come on, man. This is like, I don't know. This is ridiculous to me, right? If any regular person would have got fired for their job for bad performance, let's say, right? Not performing up to the standards of the company. You get fired. You don't, if they say you do not perform to the standards of the company that we set here, that everybody else is performing to, and so we are terminating you. You don't have. You could try and file a lawsuit. Not like it's going to go anywhere, right? You spend months and months and thousands of dollars on lawyers and attorney fees and whatever to go to court to complain that this company didn't hire you. All for the judge to go, suck it up, buttercup. Be better at your job, and maybe you'll get rehired, right? I mean, that. Now, granted, there are a lot of bad coaches that get hired over and over and over again. I don't think that's necessarily fair. I don't own an NFL team. I don't think it's about race. I think to me personally, I think it's more about the interview and what the team may be looking for. I see a lot of black head coaches in the league, just like I see a lot of black starting quarterbacks in the league now. So it's not like the league is 70% black. How is it still racial discrimination? How can you still say there's racial discrimination in the league? I don't understand it. Someone please, in the comments, enlighten me as to how there's racial discrimination. Wait. No, I just had an epiphany. You're right. All of you guys are right. There is racial discrimination in the NFL, and I can't believe I didn't see it until just now. I'm appalled and shocked at myself, right? I don't know why we haven't been asking this question all along. I mean, if you're asking the question, why aren't there that many black head coaches hired? Well, then you're right. I have to ask the question, why aren't there that many white cornerbacks starting in the NFL? You're right. There is racial discrimination in the NFL. I just never saw it before. I mean, you got, one white running back in the NFL? White starting running back in the NFL? So, yeah, there's racial discrimination in the NFL. On all levels, not just at the coaching level. I mean, look, on the field, you can see it. How many wide receivers on the outside are white? Nope. Most of your white players are quarterbacks, linemen, tight ends, linebackers, right? Not even defensive linemen anymore. But so you're right. I was completely wrong. I do apologize. There is racial discrimination in the NFL, and I've just been woken to it. So, Brian Flores, thank you for your lawsuit. It has woken me up to the plethora of racial discrimination going on in the NFL. So, thank you for tuning in. If you've made it all the way to the end of the video, I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the racial discrimination in the NFL and how the NFL should handle it going forward. Should they re-implement new rules? Should there be affirmative action in NFL coaching? I ask you this. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the video and the topic. I really love engaging with my viewers, so feel free to fire away. But if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you get notified anytime I drop a new video. Smash that like button. I really appreciate everything you guys are doing, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.